My name is Michael. I am the co-founder of BackToTheFutureTrading.com. And today we're going to talk about something that most people don't believe exists, let alone works. And yet, after being in business for 17 years with a near perfect Trustpilot rating, working with traders in the futures, Forex, equities, commodities, and now cryptocurrency exchanges, we have proven beyond all doubts, all shadows of doubts, that there is an element of timing, timing involved in markets, which is predictable. And I want to just kind of review a few things with you real quick, and then we'll get into what actually happened at the forecasts we published 4 days ago for the markets you guys trade. The programs we're referring to are available as indicators for the NinjaTrader and TradingView platforms. Warp, of course, our flagship NinjaTrader product, closely followed up by its companion version, Chronos, for TradingView. I'll be spending most of my time with Warp today. And it's a really interesting proposition that we have. We're basically the only company that I know of that tells you the times and directions before the webinars, what the market is anticipated to do when we get there, and then tells you the setups we're going to apply at those times in the future when we get there. And then today, 2 days later, actually see, did it work or did it not work? And everything sort of stems from this idea that we come at markets from one of two platforms of belief. Number one being everything is random, it's a feather in the wind, a roll of the dice, nothing is organized or manipulated, and everybody has as good a chance as anybody else to make markets work for them. And then you sort of have this other perspective of manipulation where people who study such things for a really long time end up with this perspective that markets are in fact not random, that they are this illusion of randomness, just like a casino has an edge over everyone who walks through the front doors. Companies like JP Morgan, Chase, and Deutsche Bank, Goldman, all those fun guys down there on Wall Street are pulling strings we can't see. And this idea of randomness is kind of not really true. Ultimately, today, what I want to show to you is that the times in and of themselves are cool theoretically, but when we apply a simple rules-based system to them, we need to understand if they helped us trade, win or lose over time or not. Mark Douglas, author of the book Trading in the Zone, tells us as long as there's an edge, you win more money than you lose over time, it's a system. Otherwise, we're just kind of sitting here talking about ethereal stuff that doesn't help us. Many of us, including myself, got involved with courses, gurus, mentors that like to talk and bloviate and never really gave us a firm set of rules or instructions and just drug us along subscription to subscription to subscription until we couldn't take it anymore. We don't do that here. And so everything we do about inside this webinar is based on this premise of this question of what is trading? Because if trading is looking at a chart and seeing what it did right now or what it did a few minutes ago, then this isn't going to help you. You should be looking at lagging stuff. You should be listening to people tell you what they think But if trading is about a guess into the future, what's going to happen next, then all that other stuff, I would argue, isn't really as useful as all of our stuff. All the other stuff is designed to tell you what already happened. And I think people who deal in the business of what already happened are really marketers versus mentors. They're course sellers versus captains of markets, people who are navigating those ups and downs with skill. So I want to show you something that's weird first to get started, because I think it really sets the tone and the pace of whether or not anything I have to show you is relevant or useful. And I like to do this. It freaks a lot of people out, but I think it's one of those things that it stands kind of on its own and addresses this idea of whether or not markets are in fact predictable. And how many of you have heard of Bitcoin? Let's see if this shows up a little better. There we go. Some of you have heard of Bitcoin. Controversial at best. Warren Buffett said, I can't hold Bitcoin. I can't go to where Bitcoin is. If I buy Google, I can go and stand in front of the building. If I buy Pepsi, I can look on a shelf and see a can of Pepsi Cola. I can't touch or see or interact with Bitcoin. And I remember that quote. But hundreds of millions of people all over the world sold grandma's jewelry, went down to the blood bank, became sperm donors, and bought as much Bitcoin as they could. And as of lately, the gains of this year are gone. And so before we move forward, it's important, I think, to understand whether or not markets in any way, shape, or form are predictable. And I want to use a very ridiculous method, one of the methods of the tools that we supply, to show you, in fact, that it is. And I'll just ask you this question. I'm not even going to infer, like some mentalist on a stage, what you should say. What happens most of the time at the white signals? And then, whoops. Underneath that, what happens most of the time at the blue signals? And just sort of wrestle with that for a second. If I put a survey up, I want you to look at the concept of buying Bitcoin at a white signal and selling it at a blue signal with me, right? And to do this, before I tell you where these signals are coming from, and some of you already know where they're coming from, let's reload the Ninja script here so we can get a decent text size out of this. Oh, what happened here? Properties, text. Oh, that was the right size margin. The font, here we go. Let's do a 20 on the font. There we go. So if we bought the signal on the 14th of April, and we got out on the signal on the 27th, that was a $10,600 move. If we bought the signal on May 12th, and before you say this is all hindsight, I'm going to show you where the signals came from, and you'll be speechless in a moment. You'll have the signals, in fact, for the next 100 years, if you just hang with me a few more minutes. Exit on the blue, $5,600 run. Enter on the white, exit on the blue, whopping $82. Enter on the white, exit on the blue, $9,300. Enter on the white, exit on the blue, around $6,000. Enter on the white, exit on the blue, $5,800. Enter on the white, exit on the blue, $13,700. Enter on the white, exit on the blue, -6. When we look at what happens at the blue, check it out. This one drops down, this one drops down, this one drops down, this one drops down, the last one dropped down. And then the other ones go sideways as though they're profit taking, right? This one went sideways. And this one went sideways first and dropped down. So it feels like whatever this system is giving us some pretty useful insight as to when the price of Bitcoin on a daily chart is likely to go up or down. So if we add these up, 11, 17, 26, 35, 30, let's call that 40, 53, minus 6, $47,000. So if you bought and sold at the signals around $47,000, but if you bought here and held, it's $2,600. So the system, per our Mark Douglas requirement of having an edge, right? This idea of wins and losses over time. I lost my slide. It's very, there we go. This idea of having an edge seems to permeate the signals. And it's not a recent phenomenon too. It's been happening in Bitcoin for some time, right? This is last year. Now here's the bananas part. I'm going to put a link to this website. If you've seen the webinars before, you already know where the link came from, and I'm not really surprising you right now. If anything, you're surprised that the last sell signal did what it did. Oh, Lunar Apogee Calculator. Website called Formulab. I'll go ahead and put the link in your GoToWebinar chat box right here. Do yourself a favor. Put that link in your bookmark folder. It's free. And all of the dates for the signals that are on my chart are literally coming from this very ancient looking database. Now, watch this. If I hit the signals and I hit 2026, I now have the turning points for Bitcoin for 2026. Ready? If I put a 7 in place of a 6 and hit calculate, I now have the turning points for Bitcoin for the next year after that. In fact, if I change this to 37 and hit calculate, I have the turning points for Bitcoin for the next 10 years. So let me ask a question. Why are these signals going up and down most of the time at the buy and sell signals 10 years ahead of time, carved in stone when those moments will be? And why does it keep happening over and over as we go back in time? All right, this high up here was on 2024. That high was April 2024. This push up was September 2024. It's been happening for a while. All right, let's go all the way back. That signal at the pullback is 2021. That high is 2021. This pullback is 2020. So for the last 5 years, these signals were known and predictable. So this idea that I'm somehow promulgating or promoting garbage or BS is sort of nonsense. In fact, it feels like somebody somewhere knows something they don't want you to know. And they want you to believe the idea of predictability is ridiculous so that they can keep it all for themselves. If I apply all those signals to another very popular stock somebody who's in the news quite often, I want you to see for yourself, using those same dates, using those same predictive dates, what happens at those times. And again, I'll ask the question, what happens most of the time at the signals that are blue with regards to the price of Tesla stock? Do the markets go up or down at the blue signals? More often than not. Are the white dots near the lows or the highs of the moves they appear near? More often than not. Because if the answer is yes, we really should be excited. We shouldn't be as cynical as we are. The high of this move in Tesla was May 27th. The high of this move in Tesla was June 23rd. The low of this move was July 7th. The low of this move, the pullback, was exactly August 1st. And you can see the pullback is within 1 bar of the actual low here on August 29th. The last swing high brought us to 467, and the prior all-time high lately was 474. And the market drove up on October 23rd from where? From 420 to a maximum of 474. It's a $50 move on a $400-something stock. That's a 10% gain. And now we're coming into what? The next signal right here. So, quick show of hands. I've told you where these signals are coming from. I've shown you you can generate them for the next 10 years. You don't understand the mechanism underneath, why it works. I do. But for now, if you just take on faith what your eyes are telling you, that it in fact does work, can we address this idea of predictability with a little more confidence and say, wait a minute, this crazy guy whose head in my Facebook and YouTube videos looks like Mr. Potato Head from Toy Story 1, 2, 3, and 4 has just told me where the signals come from. Maybe I'll sit and listen to the rest of his presentation and see what's going on intraday. Is there anyone at this point who has doubts as to what we're looking at and why? Okay. We've got something reasonably good. Now, if I translate that to warp, this is not based on lunar stuff or solar stuff or Martian stuff. This is based on signals that I published in the public domain last September. I was invited to a NinjaTrader live event. By the way, fun fact, they don't invite me back. I've written 3 emails to the organization, to the people who used to run that, still run it, and I said, hey, when can I come back? They don't want me back. I haven't gotten a response, an email. Last 3 times I've sent it out. NinjaTrader, if you're listening, I'm sorry if I hurt somebody's feelings, but when I gave the times out last September 2024, I did what I'm about to do for you, which is I pulled the chart to the right and I showed all the customers in attendance. This is available on their NinjaTrader live YouTube video, whatever. You can go back and find it. And so where are the expected selling dates for gold futures on a daily chart using a different approach? This approach, now that we know markets are somewhat predictable, at least in one dimension, these signals are generated using data mining, which is when we look across tens of thousands of bars and look at what I call the ripples in time. Patterns that are recurring over and over and over again based on patterns we can find in the data. So we were sort of large learning model before it was cool. I wouldn't say quite to the extent AI and ChatGPT are, But the model is constantly growing and looking at behavior times in the market and saying, what are the patterns that people can't see with their naked eye? And so right here, I'm showing you all the sell times through March. And all the buy times through November of next year. I did that in that webinar back in September. And so all of these signals, just like I showed you the future ones, were in the public domain up through and including the last several. And now look for yourself on par with what we just saw with the lunar apogee perigee. Look for yourself what happened at those times. Melvin, you could put any instrument you want and use those dates and see for yourself that most of the time it's a pretty good way to start. And you'll see movements at those dates in just about every market that you plug in. And so just using that, I want you to see what happened using data mining. And we're just going to go through real quick. And I think it's a good touchstone before we look at the stuff intraday. Look at where the sell signals were that were broadcast at that event. And I want you to see kind of the same things happening that was happening on Tesla, that was happening on Bitcoin. Can you see how we're within one bar of these highs and the market drops down when we get to them? And then when we get to the buy signals in gold, what happens more often than not? Wow, it's like right at the bottom of that pullback there, May 15th. And then you had this run up here on August 18th, this run up here on September 24th. We had the webinar where I told you guys recently about the October 27th. And then I told you all in my last webinar about the move down on November 12th. And if we add up those moves, if you swung trade that with an ETF for gold, or you had a micro gold contract, that's a $108 move. That's a $120 move. That is a 77, a 33.7, a 33.7, a $300 move, a $370 move, and a $189 move. And if we started here and to there, it's 1,000 if you just bought and held. But these are all the places you could have gotten in and gotten out along the way. So there seems to be an element of predictability in markets. There seems to be a predictability in markets. One of the markets that I like to go back and look at are Tesla. And Tesla on a weekly time frame, one of the markets we keep checking in on. Hang on. There we go. Data series. Let me just load this up. There we go. You can see those same signals on a weekly time frame for even longer moves. We can come back and look at SPY on a weekly time frame and see those same dates out into the future. We can see here January 30th is sort of the apex of that move, right? So we got the long-term big picture stuff covered. We can go out and look at Forex, for example. Here's the Euro US dollar and see those same kinds of things, right? So where things get really interesting for me, right? We've looked at that. We've studied the stars in the heavens, and we see that there is, in fact, something that they don't want us to talk about, right? Here's where things get really interesting for me, and what I'm hoping I can help a lot of you with here today. And I have the receipts to back up everything I'm about to show you. Markets are as predictable intraday as they are on these large sweeping time frames that I've given you the source code for. For example, how can I prove that? Every week before the webinar, my assistant posts an update on the page that I'm about to provide into the chat box area. You should see it now on your side if you're watching from home, pause the video, back to thefuturetrading.com/warp-webinar-forecasts. It's been the link now for years and years and years and years and years. And when you get there, it'll say, thanks for participating in our test of the powerful tools. Below, you'll find market forecasts for Wednesday, 11/19 and Thursday, 11/20. So when we scroll down to Thursday, look, here's the most popular market by far of futures traders, the NASDAQ. Now, remember how I could show you the next turning points up and down for Bitcoin and Tesla for the next 10 years? Well, 4 days ago, I posted, or rather my GM posted the times for the NASDAQ for today. 4 days ago. So I posted those gold dates and times on the Ninja Trader conference a year in advance. My GM posted the times before we'd all come together today in the webinar for the NASDAQ 4 days ago. When you have the program, you can look intraday on like a 1, 3, 5 minute level out a week into the future. These are Eastern time, and the program was commissioned with a task. And it was basically told rather, what times on Thursday are you seeing lately the NQ on a 1 minute chart more often than not goes down? What behavior patterns have you found where the algorithms, JP's, trading desk, whoever is behind the wizard's curtain, drive prices down more often than not? And the program said, hey, you're going to want to pay attention at 9:31, 9:53, all of these times through to the end of the day for selling. There's no guarantee it's going to happen. It's just telling me that it almost always happens lately. Yeah, one of the participants said, it's not bulls versus bears anymore, it's them versus retail. I agree with that. On the opposite side, the program said, hey, you may want to pay attention to 9:10, 9:44, 10:10, 10:58, 11:08, and these times on the bottom as potential pushes up. So all of the times on the top are times that the program found a tendency lately across thousands of bars recently for the prices to fall. If the prices weren't falling more often than not, there would be no times. But because there is a behavior pattern, the program goes, ding, here it is, and vice versa on the bottom. Does that make sense to everybody? Does the concept at least make sense that it's been happening so lately on a 1 minute chart that the program couldn't help but warn us about it? Lillian, different time frames have different signals. The 3 minute has smaller swings, the 5 minute has larger swings, and so the tool will find disparate times sometimes across time frames. It's very hard and challenging for me to do a multi-time frame analysis, and you'll find me committed to one time frame, maybe looking at a 5 and a 1 for reference. But it's looking at a 3 and a 5 for me is sort of like going to a date with two girlfriends and asking them which restaurant they want to go to. If I weren't married, which I am, happily. Sorry, happily, tone is important. So let's take a look and see what happened. This is the coolest part of what I get to do, because most people will be like, did it work or not? And so the earliest I had the times available were 9:10 on this chart. So 9:10, 9:31, let's take a quick peek. And I just want you to see that I'm not making stuff up as I go along. Here's 9:10, and here's 9:31. And now look and see what happened at the behavior times that the program warned me to look for. Okay, here's the morning. I'm just gonna continue to cycle through the rest of the day, and we'll scroll down. And I'm going to show you in a second how I would trade with them. So these are the times today through lunchtime, early afternoon, including the morning, that the most volatile, unpredictable market I can trade, the NQ, I was told to look for opportunities. Everybody with me so far? This is what was published 4 days ago. The dots are marking where the time eventually ended up 4 days later. Now, here's where we come full circle. There's a difference between the signals and the setups. What does that mean? The times are times, blue and white. What am I going to do with them when I get there is where we start talking about setups. Now, no two traders, no two customers trade the same way. But we want you to start out with a basic framework when we're evaluating these signals. Because Douglas said, if it doesn't have an edge, you shouldn't pay attention to it. The moon signals had an edge. They were net profitable in Bitcoin. The daily signals in gold had an edge. They were net profitable over the entire year. What are we going to do with NASDAQ? What are we going to do with the NASDAQ when we get to these times? Well, fun fact, the rules were posted ahead of time. Let me show you what I mean. If we go back and scroll up, we will also be showing how the signals can be traded by using one of two simple entry rules called signal with trend or the puncture trade. And then I put a link to the video that describes what we're looking for. Let me tell you what the differences are between those two setups. And some of you already have systems that you're trading with. You're like, oh, I can just watch these times. Yeah, you can use your VWAP and your fair value gaps and your TPO charts and your market profile charts and all the stuff that you've been doing and just watch for these times. 24 hours a day, absolutely. A lot of the moves now in the NASDAQ, for example, are occurring in the evening hours and the early morning hours. So if you have a full-time job, while your wife is watching Gilmore Girls on Netflix and you're like, this is the 14th time Rory's going to ask her grandparents for the money, but she doesn't want it to be a gift. She wants it to be a loan. You can look down on your computer and take a long in the NQ at 9:36 in the evening because markets are moving 24 hours a day now. And guess what? When we're near all-time highs in volatility and NVIDIA and that guy with the leather jacket says, we're selling more chips than we ever have, even though China's making the same AI bots with a Commodore 64, and people are starting to wake up to the fact that they can put the DeepThink large learning model on a Raspberry Pi and they don't need a $50 million processor. Hey, markets are moving. Gold is moving. China's hoarding gold. Russia's hoarding gold. Gold futures moves 24/7. Now is the best time to look at trading futures, or any market for that matter. The two setups that we're going to look at are called signals with trend. And we can make that bigger. That's what she said. And the other signal is called a puncture. And here's how we're going to evaluate the software. If we start out with a moving average, it's a lagging tool, sure. But here's a fun fact. Around 2/3 of the customers that we survey that say they are profitable, you know how they say they trade? They are self-described trend traders. They're self-described trend traders. Most of the people you'll meet who are making money and living that life will tell you they follow what the trend does. And so a moving average is probably one of the most basic ways to follow it. And in my videos for the last 17 years, I reference a 120 EMA. It is not magical. We did not sacrifice an infant baby on an Aztec altar to find that number. There it is. It's a 120 EMA. It just kind of works. Does that mean a 20 doesn't work, or a 9 or a 15 or a 200? No. Just Dance with the girl you brought to the dance. And we started with a 120 EMA, and that's what I reference in all of our videos. If we get to a signal that is a buy signal, then when that buy signal candle closes, let's say it closes high, the close of that candle is the entry. I'll put an E right there. The program then looks at how big the size of the bar is, let's say on a 1 minute time frame, using a tool called the average true range, developed by Wells Wilder in the 80s. It measures how big is a 1 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute bar on average now. And so it says, hey, if the bar is this big, I'm going to go this distance plus 50% more and put my stop. So your stop is 1.5 average true range values away. Can you make it closer? Sure. On the NQ, I would go with a 1 personally, because the volatility gets pretty high. So there's our stop. Our entry is the close of the candle. Now, there are 2 ways to hold this, the way that I described in the video and the way that I show in my live training room. You can hold this now until the next sell signal. The next time that's coming on your histogram chart down below, that's a sell. You can get in and hold it until the next selling time. Why is that signal here? It's here because over the last several thousand bars lately, there's selling almost always. And so that would be the potential exit. What we do in the class is we measure what our risk is, and then we look for 100 and 200% of our risk getting out at 200 or 2-to-1 RR if we can. If you're a customer and you want explanation of that, I have a link to a video in a Dropbox that I can post in here. Stand by. Here we go. You're gonna need to download this video from Dropbox. Dropbox isn't a viewer, so I'll say it again, download it to your desktop so you can go over the rules that I'm showing you here. What is a puncture? Okay, signal with trend is pretty much, hey, there should be a window to go long here with a beginning and an end time. We drink the milk now and there's an expiration date where the milk should spoil. Hey, Phil, I'm going to make you organizer in case any of your customers are in here. I didn't see you till just now, sorry. A puncture says, hey, let's look at that trend again. And now let's pretend we're at that sell signal. The sell signal candle closes. Let's say it closes right here. And there's my stop line, which is 1.5 ATR values away. We're expecting the market to do like it did with Bitcoin, either go sideways for a little bit or start falling. Well, what if it doesn't? What if it keeps rising? What if it keeps going up? What if it starts ticking up and goes, oh, oh, oh? Well, as a trend trader, we want to do what everybody else is doing. And this signal is here telling us almost always lately now the price goes down. If it doesn't go down, my interpretation of that is that JP has abandoned selling now. They've left the cash register unguarded. So Darren, here's what I do. I put a buy stop just above that line, 1 or 2 ticks. And so now, if the next candle opens here and goes up through that level, my stop goes 2 ticks under the candle. My entry, as you know, was 1 tick above that line. And now, Darren, I can hold this until the next buy signal, because there's a window of time now from one to the next. Now, some of you will say, hey, can I get in and just keep trailing it? Do I have to get in and out? No, of course you can. You can watch to see what happens at this signal, and if it goes through, hang on. But for the purpose of this webinar, I need to show you a mechanical setup at the times I gave out 4 days in advance. Make sense? So a puncture is a failure with trend. The bank is unguarded, and there were normally guards here at this time, and they left. It's a riot. People are walking out the store with 50-inch TVs. I'm going to grab a TV. This is normally where people walk in with a coupon and buy a TV, and the coupon expires on this day. Now, things get a little weird over here, right? Here's where things get a little weird. Because you're already starting to run the numbers in your head, right? So let's just do the easy ones, the signals with trend. In at 8:40 after the report, out at 8:52 is plus 75. In at 9:10, I want to be out before the open, so I'm out at the 9:29 candle. That's a $3 3/4 move. 9:30 closes below the moving average. I'm in and out at 9:44. That's a negative $42 move. 9:44 is a signal with trend. I'm in and I'm out at 9:53. It's a $7 winner. 9:53 is not a puncture. 10:10 is not a signal with trend. It's not a puncture. 10:21 is not a signal with trend. And then finally here, it's a puncture. It comes up and then comes back down, hits the stop. It's a minus $25 loser. There is a puncture at 10:58 and we exit at 11:04. It's a $32 winner. There is a signal with trend at 11:04 and we exit at 11:08. It's a $42 winner. There is a puncture at 11:13. We exit at 11:16. It is a $65 winner. There is a signal with trend at 11:16. We exit by 11:23 on the close. That is a $90 winner. There is no puncture here. 11:36 is a signal with trend. We exit by 11:44. It is a $57 winner. 11:53, almost lunchtime, is a signal with trend. We exit at 11:57. It's a $138 winner. 75, 78, 85, 120, 160, 220, 280, 370, 470, 500, 460, 440. That's $440 of movement. Times $20 per contract if you traded one contract in the NASDAQ. So that's a little over $8,000. And it didn't stop. It kept going this afternoon. Signals with trend and punctures. Any questions? The same thing happened yesterday. These were the NQ times that were published 4 days in advance for yesterday. What do we see? What happens at the blue dots more often than not? What happens at the buying dots more often than not? It appears there is a plan that these bots and programs are following. And the further I go back, these are not curve fit signals. I'm just showing you a broad spectrum of times over time. If you trade a crazy market like the NQ or the ES or gold, this is what's happening and you could know them. So when you asked if you could trade these 24/7, do you see what's happening at 3 in the morning in the NASDAQ? Do you see what happened at 3:26 in the NASDAQ and at 2:31 in the NASDAQ? There was a plan. So if you're going to wake up Honey, what are you doing? Go back to sleep. In, out. It's a $46 move, $800. There's your Lexus payment. In, out. It's a $1,200 move. In, out. That's a nearly $2,000 move. In, out. $200. In, out. $200 move. Puncture. Stop filled. Signal with trend, -7. These signals were at least 4 days old based on what I told you. And when you get to them 4 days later, what's happening more often than not, just like 10 years of data in the future, you have an opportunity, unprecedented in history. This is 9 o'clock at night till 2 in the morning. I deliver refrigerators. Drink coffee when you come home. I'm an IT professional, Michael. I'm very busy during the day. I helped Lois today set up her new HP printer. Take a monster sip when you get home. Short, get in, get out. 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 Set your alarm clock to the times 2 minutes before. Take a 15-minute nap in between the signals. What do you want me to tell you? Because it's been going on. It still goes on. We show them in our live trading classes every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. People are seeing in the demonstrations with the people who show up. I got a demonstration from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. You saw that drop. You saw that rise in a demonstration. You saw that drop. You saw that rise. This was a stop out, and then you saw with your salesman between 10:23 and 10:49 a $253 move. That's what's happening in the demos that people don't show up for. And it's like saying, I have cancer. We've got a drug. It'll cure it. Just show up tomorrow at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, Raul's not there. Raul, we had the cure for cancer. Yeah, I didn't want to come. Show up at your appointments, please. Miracles are there. I've had customers make $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 in a demo, and they're trading while I'm watching the signals with them. It's like, what are you doing? He goes, well, I got to see if it's real or not. Okay. So that's the NQ. Here was the ES today. If you were following the ES on a 5-minute chart, let me look at yesterday. We'll look at 2 different days together. Here's the E-mini S&P yesterday. These signals were available 4 days ago. What were we looking to see happen at 8:10 yesterday? What were we watching to see happen at 9:40 yesterday? How long was the move supposed to last if you bought 9:40 yesterday? Until 10:45. Are you kidding me right now? No. In, out. Yesterday, that's a $1,700 move. If you sold 8:10, it went in your direction $1,000. And just so you know, those times were published four days ago. The times and directions on the chart I'm showing you were available in the public domain 4 days ago on Sunday, I think, Sunday or Monday. Watch. 120, 120, 1045, 1045, 940, 940, 810, 810. How many of you are trying to figure out how I'm doing this? How many of you are trying to figure out how I'm moving the balls around with the cups? How many of you are trying to figure out if it's so good, why does he sell it? What kinds of crazy thoughts are flowing through your mental screen right now? I call it the parade of voices. Because there is no trick. There is no magic. There is no sleight of hand. right? There's only the truth of it all. Because I can't fake what you just saw. And here's a fun fact. As we go back in time, it's the same. What date was this? This was the 17th, so 3 days ago. What happened 3 days ago at the times that the software warned us to look for more shenanigans? Holy heck, Batman. These never repaint, they never disappear, they never print late. We know the times for tomorrow right now. Look, there they are. I show them every week and no one pays attention. 8:25, 10:20, 12:40, 3:05, 1:50, 12:10, 9:10, 7:45. They're already there. In fact, how far in the future are there? November 28th, November 30th. They're already populated through next week. And it's not just the 5-minute chart. We can look at large swings on time frames that are larger than that. This in case I can set it to the 60, I can set it to 15. What's the best time frame? The answer is yes. Whatever time frame you trade, the accuracy of the signals is the same. Whatever time frame you trade, the accuracy of the signals is the same. And so I have 30 days of historical data here loaded. And look, no matter how far I back, no matter how far back I go, the whites are near the bottom and the blues are near the top more often than not. This is what you're choosing to ignore when you leave here today without the program. You're saying, I want to be, so here's 30 days ago. Up at 10:05, down at 11:15, up at 11:40, down at 12:50, up at 1:05 until 3:10, down from 3:10 to 4:10, up from 6:25 to 8:50. Why would you not want to know now that you know that it's possible? From a guy who showed you a simple free way in the hopes that you'll be convinced enough, right? So it's happening on every market we can think of. Here's Bitcoin on a weekly time frame. You can see when things broke down in Bitcoin. I could have told you on a weekly time frame when the party was over, right there. This is officially a downtrend, right? We can look at a weekly time frame in all sorts of markets like gold. And if you're a large swing investor, you're driving around that Lamborghini Gallardo, those are the weekly signals in gold. I don't have time to sit in front of a chart all day. I've got stuff to do, important meetings to have. I'm on my 4th trophy wife and I'm a 4 handicap down in Daytona. Okay. Buy gold on the 9th, exit on the 12th. Buy gold on the week of the 20th, exit on the week of the 15th. Buy it on the week of the 24th, exit on the 21st. Buy it when it punctures that blue line. Hold it until the 11th. Hold that trade until the week of October 17th. And now we're waiting until the week of the 5th. And you're playing like casinos play. You're playing like JP Morgan plays. You're playing like these people play. We have an excellent rating. 90%, over 90% of people, 92% of people who get this program after the webinar you just saw, leave us a 5-star rating. Of the 1-star rating people, 2 of them aren't customers. Fun fact. 2 of them never purchased, and they wanted you to know that they don't think it works. And so you can have that experience. It's available to you. And just a quick peek so you know that it's something I did mention. If you're using this on TradingView, we're doing the same types of things, right? I'm pretty sure price action is down there. Here's the signals on TradingView for the E-mini S&P 1-minute chart. We'll look it up. 5-minute chart. This is Chronos for TradingView. And so you can have the same experience if you're a TradingView person with Chronos for TradingView. On our website, you'll see there are backtothefuturetrading.com, a place for you to look under trading tools. Warp is the one I demonstrated for you. It's an indicator for NinjaTrader. And then if you want to learn more about the version I just showed you for TradingView, go to our store, click on Learn More under the Tachyon Chronos, tab. We do have a bot available. It is limited availability. And if you eventually decide you trust it enough to let it trade for you, like we do, my partner and I do, then there is an automated version of this available. Does it work with binary options? Darren, your question is the answer. Are binary options based on price or time? Are binary options based on price or time? Yeah. What does my indicator focus on completely 100%? That no one else focuses on at all. My indicator is the only one that works with binary options. Let that sink in your noodle. Hurts, doesn't it? Mine's the only one that works with time, with binary options. You're scared, I understand. I showed you stuff for free that worked. I proved that markets are predictable. I showed you how it works intraday and gave you the times 4 days in advance. And when we looked at what happened 4 days later, it did that. You're scared. You're questioning my motives. You're questioning the entire reality of trading, but it was real. Everything you saw today was real. And so when we look back over here, we have to understand, was there a statistically relevant edge with signals that were published 4 days in advance, 10 years in advance, when we applied a basic setup of entry, exit, stops, and targets to it? And the answer is yes. On the E-mini, S&P, gold, NASDAQ, signals with trend and punctures over 2 days, with signals that were known about 4 days in advance, it won more than it lost. I've studied this for 17 years. I've seen tens of thousands of signals and moves. I'm convinced. I will never lie to you. I promised when they gave me my Eagle Scout award, on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself mentally strong, morally straight, and physically fit. I'm honest to a fault with this stuff because I know the stakes are high. When it comes to money, people get weird, self-destructive, self-effacing, self-sabotaging. But there's a lot riding on it now, and there's a lot of it available. There's a very high concentration of it in a very small number of hands, and those people are making big moves right now. They're making huge moves. And if you can turn your computer on for a little while in the evening, there are opportunities for people that you don't have to rely on a $2,000 check for. You don't have to rely on the tariffs ending for. You don't have to rely on AI not taking your job someday for. You can take power back. I've seen other people do it. We're very proud of our 4.4. It was 4.7 before the people who didn't buy gave us a 1. So if you are a customer and you are experiencing anything, I can't control what you write. Please visit Trustpilot and let people know what your experiences are, because it helps them when they make a decision to hear in your own words what life has been like before and after our company. These two slides I love to show before we go. Hey, Angel, all that stuff's on the website, and there's traders that work with me that are going to reach out to you. So Dave or Paul or Philip, if you could get with Angel and let him know what's going on. What if we don't know how to set a trade or when to get out of a failing trade? Darren, when it hits your stop, you get out of the failing trade. We trade with stops and targets, binary options. If you get to the end of your option and it expires and it didn't work, it didn't work. There's no such thing as a 100% profitable trading system. That's not true. Jeffrey Epstein had a 100% profitable trading system, and Bernie Madoff had a 100% profitable trading system. I think an accountant at Enron did too. Otherwise, we're exploiting an edge over time. So if you're a trend trader, your trades, on average, I've seen them work 55% of the time with a profit factor between 1.5 and 2.0. If you're a counter trend trader, it's closer to 65% of the time with a profit factor around 1 to 1. But I know when the signals are coming, and I'm not sitting. Can it be used on an eval account? 100%. So right now, Simon, we have it running on we have one eval account running with the auto trader, and we're doing the 150. And we're presently at 157,440 with our Apex eval account. The auto trader. So 100%. Any other questions? Oh yeah, I have guys trading. We had one customer, his name, I don't like revealing his name. He got mad when I did. He took $400,000 out of Apex a few years ago when they first started. I have an email with his, I can blur it out if you really need to see it. He showed me 1 month of his signals, he was 70% profitable, and he had 20 accounts in a PA. And so 20 times 2, that was a $40,000 day for him. Yeah. The founder of Apex, Daryl Martin, is a customer. Before there was an Apex, he was a customer. And he pays a lot of our customers money. So yeah, trading has changed, hasn't it? We never used to talk about evaluations and payouts, and that seems to be the norm now. I wonder what the future will hold for all of that. We would love for you to be a part of our team. We have traders who are helping onboard other traders. We have a customer service center. We have 200 hours of training videos ranging from very basic to more complex. We have a Discord for customers that people are sharing their setups with each other, and guys are basically letting you know when they're getting in and when they're getting out, which I think is cool. So if you're into community and you want to see what other people are doing and they're sharing their experiences with each other and their techniques, the Discord is available for you as a customer. I'm around. We have mentoring services and tutoring services. I teach a live class every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I show people the entries and the exits, and I tell them what I'm about to do before I do it. So lots of places for you to plug in. And if you want to fly solo and just take it and run on your own, not a problem. Again, those videos and booklets are available for you to help understand what you're looking at. Yeah. Final thought. None of this seems fair, what they're doing at these times, planning to take money from middle America and middle whatever country you're in and put it in the brokerage account. JP reported, I think it was a $6 or $9 billion profit last quarter from trading. That's a lot of money. $6 or $9 billion in 3 months. That money didn't come from other big banks. I think it came from people with mortgages and car payments and college kids. But if you want to fight fire, you have to use fire. And so when you're using these signals, you're kind of following the cheaters when they cheat. And that's kind of a morally ambiguous area there. But if you can stomach it, we use the tools of the institutions to also take money. And I think if you're going to beat them, you got to join them and know the times they're doing these things. Nobody's talking about this. I'm blacklisted. I get one event, I get one invitation, and then no one ever hears back on this end from anybody. And after almost 20 years of doing it, I kind of expect it. So if this is why one interaction with you, if this is my one interaction with you, if this is the only time I get with you, I want you to remember tomorrow when you turn on the computer, next week when you're looking at your stocks or your crypto wallets, or you're looking at your futures evaluation account and you're wondering what it's going to do next, you had an opportunity to know. You could have seen where the landmines were in your front lawn before you stepped out towards the street. And if you're choosing to leave today without that, maybe what you're doing isn't trading, maybe it's gambling. And if that's the case, it's fine. Just admit it and call it what it is. Don't say you're trading if you don't want to know what times these markets are likely to move, because it means you like the adrenaline, you like the excitement, you like telling Barbara in accounts payable that you got slaughtered in oil futures yesterday. You love the camaraderie of the chat room that you're in where everyone else is losing too, but it was fun talking to Bill out in Sheboygan about it. But some of you are serious. Some of you want to earn money. Some of you want to learn more money, hold your winners longer, keep your losers shorter and tighter, trade less often, and know when to be at your computer and when to walk away and live your life. To the few of you that are in that category, I say welcome on board. We're very happy to have you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine on your face. May the mountains lay low before you. May the valley rise up to meet you on your journey. I am proud of you for learning something. It is not easy today to spend an hour of your life learning anything. The world is broken up into bite-sized 30-second chunks, and I think they're doing that on purpose. It's harder to pay attention when you can't focus more than a minute. So really, truly, I am proud of you for sitting through an hour of this. It's pretty intense stuff. And so good job. I am for you. I'm proud that you're trying to do this. This is the hardest thing I ever sat down to try to figure out, let alone master or teach to someone else. And so I acknowledge that what you're doing is hard. And if you're here today, you're still doing it. And so again, I'm proud of you for trying something that's hard. It's easy to walk into a cubicle and help somebody else build their own dream. And being here today, whether you move forward with us or not, you're building your own cubicle brick by brick. And so I'm for you. I'm a big fan. I hope you get there with us or without us. Man, I hope the future is wide open for you. There's a lot of opportunity, especially now. This video will be uploaded to YouTube probably sometime tomorrow. Check us out. We have a lot of stuff on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Look for us, Back to the Future Trading, where we post updates daily, let you know what's going on and what to watch out for. Otherwise, if you get a call from one of our salespeople who are also traders using the software, Philip, Dave, or Paul, let them tell you what they're doing. Let them show you what's going on. Sit there for a few minutes and see for yourself that what we showed you today isn't happening live in the market you trade. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless if you believe in such things. If not, be well. May the force be with you. And I will see you 2 weeks from today. Have a great week and good luck tomorrow. With or without the signals, I wish you well. Take care.